I was her lowest paid bodyguard until she led me into her private suite. The door clicked shut behind us like a gunshot in the dead of night, and there she was, Elena Voss, the golden girl of Hollywood, turning to me with eyes that burned brighter than the city lights we'd just escaped. My heart slammed against my ribs, the kind of thud that echoes in your chest long after the moment's gone, because I knew right then, this wasn't just another assignment. I was Riley Kane, 25, fresh out of the army with a chip on my shoulder bigger than the paycheck that barely covered my rent in this godforsaken sprawl of Los Angeles. Lowest paid bodyguard on her elite security team, the one they stuck with the grunt work. Perimeter checks at dawn, tailing her through paparazzi swarms that smelled like sweat and desperation. And her? 32, all sharp cheekbones and curves that could make a saint sin. A rising starlet whose face graced every billboard from Sunset to the Strip, born and bred in the heart of Beverly Hills, where money flowed like the cheap champagne at her after-parties. She stepped closer, her silk robe whispering against the marble floor of her penthouse suite, high above the hum of traffic that never slept. The air hung heavy with the scent of jasmine from her diffuser, mixed with the faint metallic tang of my own adrenaline. "Riley," she breathed, her voice a low rasp that sent shivers racing down my spine. "You don't have to stand at attention anymore." Her fingers brushed my arm, light as a feather but heavy as fate, and I froze, the weight of my Glock holstered at my hip suddenly feeling like an anchor pulling me under. It started 3 months ago, that first briefing in her manager's glass-walled office overlooking the Hollywood Hills. The room reeked of fresh coffee and printer ink, the kind that sticks to your skin. Elena's latest stalker, a ghost from her past, some ex-producer with a grudge and a knife collection, had escalated from creepy letters to shadows in her driveway. "We need eyes on her 24/7, the head of security barked, sliding my file across the table like it was yesterday's trash. I was the budget option, the queer kid from a nowhere town in Ohio who traded fatigues for a black suit that itched like regret. No family ties, no scandals. Just me with my buzzed hair and the tattoo of a compass rose on my forearm, pointing nowhere good. Elena had glanced at me then, her green eyes flickering over my frame like she was sizing up a script. "You'll do," she'd said. A half-smile playing on lips painted the color of forbidden wine. From that moment I was hers, trailing her to red carpet galas where flashbulbs popped like fireworks, her arm brushing mine in crowded elevators that smelled of perfume and envy. Nights blurred into stakeouts in my beat-up Jeep, parked curbside while she laughed inside velvet-roped clubs, her laughter filtering through the vents like smoke I couldn't inhale. But tonight? Tonight was different. The stalker had breached the outer perimeter, a shadow slipping past the gates of her Malibu estate, close enough to leave a scrawled note on her doorstep. "You're mine again." My pulse had roared in my ears as I tackled him in the rose bushes, thorns tearing at my sleeves, his breath hot and foul against my neck before I pinned him down. Sirens wailed in the distance, blue and red lights painting the driveway in frantic strokes. Elena had watched from the porch, wrapped in that same robe, her face pale as moonlight, hands trembling as she clutched the note like a poison she'd already swallowed. Now in the suite, her private sanctuary atop the Chateau Marmont, where the world below buzzed oblivious, we stood inches apart. The morning light hadn't broken yet, but the first gray hints seeped through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the king-sized bed rumpled from her restless sleep. "You saved me," she whispered, her hand sliding up to cup my jaw, thumb tracing the scar from a training mishap years back. I swallowed hard, the sound loud in the hush, my throat dry as desert sand. "It's my job," I muttered, but the words tasted like lies, bitter on my tongue. She laughed, soft and broken like glass cracking underfoot. "Your job? Riley, you've been more than that for weeks." Her body pressed closer, heat radiating through the thin fabric between us, and I could hear her heartbeat, quick and unsteady, syncing with mine in a rhythm that terrified me. The air thickened, charged with the unspoken, the way I'd caught her staring during late-night drives, her gaze lingering on my profile longer than protocol allowed. The brush of her knee against mine in the back of limos, accidental at first, then not. And me? God, me with my walls built from deployments and heartbreaks, crumbling under the weight of her touch. I pulled back just an inch enough to breathe. Elena, we can't. My voice cracked, the protest feeble against the pull of her. Outside, the city stirred. A distant car horn blaring, the low rumble of an early trash truck. But here time stretched thin, fragile as the silk slipping from her shoulder. She didn't let go. Why not? Her eyes searched mine, raw and pleading, the vulnerability stripping away the starlit facade. Because I'm paying you? Because I'm a mess who drags danger everywhere? Or because you're scared, Riley? Scared of feeling something real in this fake-ass town? The words hit like a gut punch, stealing my air. I thought of my old life, the barracks in Kandahar dust caking my boots, the sister I'd lost to a roadside bomb, her dog tag still tucked in my drawer back home. I'd come to Ella chasing stability, not this whirlwind of silk and secrets. But Elena. She was chaos wrapped in grace, a woman who'd clawed her way from bit parts to blockbuster leads, hiding her own scars behind designer smiles. And now, with the adrenaline fading, the fear settled in, fear of losing the job, the roof over my head, but mostly fear of her seeing the broken parts one kept locked away. She leaned in, her lips hovering a breath from mine, the scent of her, vanilla and salt, flooding my senses. Stay, she murmured, a plea wrapped in command. My resolve shattered like cheap glass, and I closed the gap, our mouths meeting in a crash of heat and hunger. Her hands fisted in my shirt, pulling me down onto the bed, the mattress dipping under our weight with a soft creak. The world narrowed to this. Her gasps against my skin, the slide of fabric, the urgent press of bodies long denied. But as dawn crept in, painting her skin gold, doubt wormed its way back. This wasn't just a kiss, it was a line crossed, a contract torn. And in the ruthless machine of Hollywood, lines like that got you fired. Or worse. Sunlight sliced through the curtains like a knife, pulling me from the haze of tangled sheets, and Elena's warmth pressed against my side. Her breath feathered my neck, steady now in sleep, but my mind raced, replaying the night in fragmented flashes. The stalker's wild eyes under the porch light, the coppery taste of blood from a split lip I'd earned in the scuffle, Elena's fingers interlacing with mine as we fled to the chateau, her whisper in the elevator. I need you, not just the gun. Now, in the harsh morning glare, reality crashed back. I eased away, careful not to wake her, my bare feet hitting the cool hardwood with a soft thud that echoed my regret. The suite sprawled around us like a movie set. Plush velvet couches in jewel tones, a bar cart gleaming with crystal decanters half full of amber liquid, floor-to-ceiling views of the Hollywood sign mocking me from afar. I padded to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, the droplets cold against flushed skin. Mirror Elena stared back, wild hair tousled, lips swollen from kisses that still tingled. Who was I kidding? This wasn't some fairy tale. It was a felony waiting to happen. Fraternizing with the principal? That's career suicide in security circles, especially for a nobody like me scraping by on ramen and resolve. Dressed in yesterday's rumpled shirt and slacks, I slipped out to the balcony, the city sprawl unfolding below in a smog-choked symphony. Car horns blared in staccato bursts, a street vendor's cart rattling with the sizzle of breakfast burritos that carried the greasy promise of normalcy. I lit a cigarette, bad habit from the service, one I swore off but clung to in crises, inhaling deep, the smoke curling like my twisting thoughts. My phone buzzed on the wrought iron table, the screen lighting up with text from the team lead. Incident report ASAP. Cops want statements. Where the hell are you? Followed by one from dispatch. Kane, you're off rotation till review. Stay low. Off rotation. Code for you're fucked. I stubbed out the smoke, grinding it under my heel, the acrid burn mirroring the pit in my stomach. Elena stirred inside, her voice calling soft. Riley. I stepped back in, finding her propped on elbows, sheet pulled at her waist, exposing the elegant line of her collarbone marked with faint bruises from. What? Passion? Panic? Hey, I said, forcing a grin that felt like sandpaper. Coffee. She nodded, eyes tracing me with that intensity that made my knees weak. Black, 2 sugars. Like your soul, apparently. Her tease landed light, but the undercurrent pulled. Affection laced with the fear we'd both tasted last night. As the Keurig gurgled in the kitchenette, filling the air with rich, earthy aroma. She wrapped the robe around herself and joined me, perching on a bar stool with legs crossed like a queen on her throne. Talk to me. What's next? Cops? More guards. I slid the mug across, our fingers brushing, sparks jumping despite the mundane. Statements today. They'll amp up security, probably stick some hotshot with you while I'm sidelined. The word hung bitter, and she caught it, her face falling like rain on a window pane. Sidelined? Because of last night? Riley, no. She set the mug down untouched, reaching for my hand, her palm warm and steady. You're not just muscle to me. You see me, the real me, not the poster girl bullshit. I pulled away, pacing to the window, palms pressing against glass, cool as judgment. Below, tourists milled like ants, snapping pics of the sign that promised dreams but delivered dust. Elena, that's the problem. I do see you. Too much. And this town? It chews up anything real and spits out tabloid fodder. My voice roughened, edged with the sigh I've been holding since Ohio, since burying my sister under a sky too blue for grief. I'm the help. You're the star. Mix that with us. It's a recipe for headlines that end careers. She stood, closing the distance, her reflection merging with mine in the glass. A distorted duo, unbreakable yet fractured. Screw the headlines. I've dodged worse. Her arms slipped around my waist from behind, chin resting on my shoulder, breath warm against my ear. Remember that rap party 2 weeks ago? The one where the director cornered me in the coat room. Hands everywhere, reeking of scotch and entitlement. I nodded, jaw clenching at the memory, me bursting in, pulling him off with a glare that promised pain. You didn't hesitate. You fought for me then. Fight for us now. The vulnerability in her voice cracked me open, raw as an exposed nerve. I turned, cupping her face, thumb stroking cheeks soft as petals. I'm trying, Al. But fear's a bitch. It whispers louder than want. Our foreheads touched, breaths mingling in the space between. The distant wail of a siren underscoring the fragility. Then her lips found mine, slow and searching, tasting of coffee grounds and unspoken promises. We sank onto the couch, her straddling my lap, robe falling open like an invitation. Hands roamed, mine tracing the curve of her hip, hers tugging at my shirt buttons with urgent pops. The world outside faded to white noise. A neighbor's dog barking, the whir of an AC unit kicking on. But mid-kiss, my phone shattered the spell, ringing shrill as an alarm. Dispatch again. Kane, get your ass to the station. Stalker's lawyering up. Says you used excessive force. Elena pulled back, eyes wide, fear flickering like a shorted wire. Go, she said, voice steady despite the tremor. Handle it. I'll be here. I dressed in a blur, holstering my piece, the weight grounding me. At the door, she pressed a keycard into my palm, hers for the suite. Come back. Promise. The elevator descent felt like freefall, stomach lurching as floors blurred. Out on the street, the sun beat down merciless, asphalt shimmering in heat waves that distorted palm trees into mirages. I hailed a cab, the driver griping about traffic as we crawled toward the precinct, radio crooning some pop hit Elena had voiced over. Inside, the station smelled of stale donuts and despair. Cops shuffling papers, a drunk snoring and holding. The detective, a grizzled vet with coffee breath, grilled me. You pinned him how hard, Kane? Bruises say assault. I recounted it flat, facts over fire, but inside rage simmered, the bastard who'd terrorized her now flipping the script. Hours dragged, statements signed in triplicate, the fluorescent buzz drilling into my skull. By noon, cleared but warned, keep it clean next time. I emerged blinking into blinding light, phone dead from ignored calls. Elena's text lit the screen. Miss you. Dinner at mine. Security's en route. Relief flooded, sweet as rain but laced with dread. This pull between us, it was a riptide, beautiful and deadly. Back at the chateau, I found her on the balcony, sunset gilding her silhouette, a glass of wine in hand. Cleared? She asked, turning with a smile that lit the dusk. I nodded, stepping into her space, the jasmine scent wrapping us anew. For now. Dinner arrived. Sushi from some overpriced spot. Rolls glistening on platters we devoured cross-legged on the floor. laughing over wasabi burns and her impressions of co-stars. Night fell soft, stars pricking the pollution dome, and we tumbled back to bed, explorations deeper this time. Whispers of names in the dark, skin slick with sweat, her moans a symphony against my collarbone. Yet sleep evaded me, Elena's head on my chest, her heartbeat a lullaby. The stalker was just the start. Hollywood had vultures circling, managers scheming, rivals whispering. And me? I was in too deep, loving a woman whose world could swallow mine whole. Weeks blurred into a fever dream of stolen moments and shadowed threats, the suite becoming our fragile fortress amid the storm. Elena's schedule ramped up. Press junkets in New York, table reads for her next thriller. A role that had her playing a femme fatale with a past darker than ours. I tagged along, reinstated but watched like a hawk, my every move logged in the team's encrypted app. The head of security, a bull-necked ex-Marine named Hargrove, pulled me aside after a flight back from JFK, his cologne clashing with the recycled plain air. Kane rumors. Keep it professional or you're out. His eyes bored into me, heavy with implication, and I nodded tight-lipped, the lie tasting like ash. But professionalism? That ship had sailed the night Elena's fingers first mapped my scars, tracing the jagged line across my ribs from a Humvee rollover in the sandbox. Now, in the quiet hours between call sheets and close protection, we carved out pockets of us. Mornings in her Malibu kitchen, sunlight slanting through blinds striped like prison bars, her barefoot in oversized tees that drowned her frame, flipping pancakes that sizzled and spat grease. The smell, sweet batter and melting butter, mingled with ocean brine wafting from the open slider, waves crashing rhythmic as our sink breaths. Try this, she'd say, holding a forkful to my lips, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and I'd lean in, catching the syrup drip on my tongue, our laughter bubbling low and intimate. Afternoons bled into stakeouts turned picnics on remote beaches south of Santa Monica, bluffs shielding us from prying drones. She'd pack a cooler, goat cheese and figs from Arrowhan, chilled rose that fizzed on pour, and we'd sprawl on a blanket, her head in my lap, fingers toying with my tags as gulls wheeled overhead, cries sharp against the surf's roar. Tell me about Ohio, she'd murmur, voice soft as sea foam, and I'd oblige in fragments. Cornfields whispering in wind like secrets, my sister's laugh echoing from tire swings, the night the telegram came, knocking the air from the room with a thud heavier than any explosion. Elena listened, her hand squeezing mine, tears tracking silent down temples salted by spray. You're strong, Riley. Stronger than this town knows. Her words wrapped warm but doubt not strength? Or just survival armored against loss? The stalker faded to background noise, locked up pending trial, his notes dissected by feds in windowless rooms smelling of ink and indifference. But new shadows crept. A rival actress, Lana Reyes, with a smile sharp as switchblades and a history of sabotage that whispered through industry halls. Elena confided over late-night takeout, pad thai steaming in cartons, lime wedges bright as accusations, how Lana had accidentally leaked an old audition tape. Elena's raw breakdown twisted into clickbait. She's gunning for my role, Elena said, chopsticks pausing midair, steam curling like ghosts. And now? She's sniffing around you. My fork clattered, heart stuttering. Me? Why? Elena set her food aside, crawling across the rug to straddle me, hands framing my face. Because she sees it, the way I look at you, the way you make me feel safe. Her kiss was fierce, claiming teeth grazing lip until copper bloomed, but beneath the heat, fear thrummed. A low vibration like bass from a passing lowrider. That night, as rain pattered the roof in erratic Morse, we made love slow, deliberate, her gasps hitching with each thrust of fingers, my name a chant on her tongue. Afterward, tangled and spent, thunder rumbling distant, she traced patterns on my stomach. Promise you'll watch my back, Riley. Not just the job, the heart stuff. I promise, I whispered, but sleep brought dreams. Ohio fields aflame, Elena's face melting into my sister's, screams lost to wind. Dawn yanked me awake, sweat slick, Elena's side cold. She'd risen early for a workout, the home gym echoing with thuds of weights and her grunts determined and fierce. I joined her, spotting bench presses, our eyes locking in the mirror's reflection, sweat beading on brows, breath sinking in exertion's raw poetry. Post-shower in the steam-hazed bathroom, towels discarded like doubts. She pulled me under the spray, water cascading hot and forgiving. "Love this," she murmured against slick skin. Hands soaping my back in circles that soothed deeper than words. But cracks spiderwebbed. At a premiere afterparty in a Sunset Strip mansion. Chandeliers dripping crystals like tears, air thick with champagne fizz and cigar haze. Lana cornered me by the bar, her dress a red slash against marble counters. "Riley, right? Elena's little shadow." Her laugh tinkled false, nails tapping my arm like Morse for malice. "Word is, you're more than that. Careful, stars burn bright, but guards? They just get singed." She leaned in, breath minty over vodka, eyes gleaming predatory. I shrugged her off, pulse hammering, scanning for Elena amid the swirl of gowns and egos. Found her laughing with producers, but her glance my way, quick, anxious, said she saw the exchange. Later, in the limo crawling through neon veins, Elena's thigh pressed mine, silent until home. "What did she say?" she asked, voice edged as the rain-slicked windshield wipers. I recounted, downplaying, but her face tightened, storm clouds gathering. "She's poison, Riley. Always has been. Stole my first agent, spread rumors that tanked an audition." She paced the foyer, heels clicking sharp, the echo amplifying her agitation. I caught her wrists gentle, pulling her close. "Hey, we're solid. She's just noise." But as we climbed stairs, her body tense under my touch, doubt seated. Was Lana right? Was I just a phase, a thrill in Elena's scripted life? The next day brought escalation. A leaked photo, grainy but damning. Us on that beach, blurred but unmistakable. Her head on my lap splashed across TMZ with headlines screaming Voss's secret fling. Bodyguard or bed warmer? My phone exploded. Hargrove's bellow over voicemail. Elena's manager in hysterics. We holed up, blinds drawn against flashing vans, the room dim as a confessional. Elena curled on the couch, knees to chest, rocking subtle. "This ruins everything," she whispered, voice muffled in tears that soaked my shirt as I held her. "The role, the endorsements, God, Riley, what have we done?" I rocked her slow, murmuring nonsense into hair scented with shampoo and sorrow, the patter of rain outside a counterpoint to her sobs. "We lived, Elle. That's not ruin, that's real." But inside, panic clawed. My job teetering, her world fracturing. That night, as lightning forked the sky, we clung desperate, bodies arching in defiance, her cries a release against my shoulder. Dawn brought fragile peace, coffee brewing bitter as resolve, but the photo lingered, a specter promising more storms. The scandal hit like a California wildfire. Fast, furious, devouring everything in its path. By midday, Elena's agent, a wiry shark named Victor with a perpetual scowl and breath like stale espresso, stormed the sweet tablet in hand, spewing headlines. Lesbian lust on set? Voss's steamy security slip-up. His voice boomed off walls, veins bulging in his neck. "Elena, this is career napalm. We spin it as a PR stunt, or you're blacklisted faster than that indie flop last year." She stood rigid by the window, arms crossed like armor, the Pacific glittering mockingly below. "Spin it? Victor, that's my life you're twisting." Her tone iced over, but I saw the tremble in her fists, the way her gaze flicked to me, pleading, protective. I hovered in the doorway, invisible as protocol demanded, but rage simmered hot under my skin. Victor rounded on me, finger jabbing air. "You out. This is your mess, Kane. Pack your gear." Elena whirled, fire in her eyes. "No. She's staying." The room crackled, tension thick as the fog rolling in from the coast. Victor huffed, muttering about clauses and liabilities, but backed down when she threatened to fire him on the spot. Door slamming behind him, silence crashed in, broken only by the distant crash of waves and Elena's ragged exhale. She collapsed onto the ottoman, head in hands, shoulders shaking. I knelt before her, palms on knees, voice low. "Elle, talk to me." Her fingers threaded through mine, grip vice tight. "It's not just the photo, it's them. Always them, picking me apart like I'm a prop." Tears spilled, hot on our joined hands, and I wiped them with thumbs, leaning to press lips to her forehead, salt lingering on my tongue. "You're not a prop. You're Elena." Fierce, funny, the woman who makes shitty stakeout burritos taste like heaven. A watery laugh escaped her, breaking the dam, and she pulled me up, our embrace fierce, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth. We spent the afternoon barricaded. Phones on silent, world on mute. Binging old rom-coms on the massive screen. Her curled into my side, commentary laced with snark. See? They always get the girl. Why can't we? Popcorn kernels crunched underfoot. Buttery scent clashing with the lavender candle flickering on the side table. As credits rolled, dusk painted the room amber, her hand tracing lazy circles on my thigh. Riley, what if we run? Ditch'll hole up in some cabin, just us. The fantasy dangled sweet, but reality's hook yanked. My contract, her obligations, the vultures circling closer. Night brought Victor back with a damage control plan, a joint interview, me painted as the devoted friend. Our romance a tabloid fever dream. Elena balked, pacing the rug in sock feet, toes curling into pile. I'm done lying, Vic, tired of the closet this town built around me. He blustered, but she held firm, voice steady as steel. Or you adapt or you're out. Alone after, she turned to me, eyes shining defiant. Your thoughts? I pulled her close, heartbeat thundering against hers. Proud of you. Scared shitless but proud. Our kiss ignited slow, building to blaze. Clothes shedding in whispers of fabric, her nails raking back as I lifted her to the counter. Cool granite a shock against heated skin. Moans echoed off tiles, water from the sink dripping rhythmic counterpoint. But morning mail brought ice. A manila envelope unmarked, slipped under the door. Inside, glossy prints, us on the beach in the limo, intimate angles no phone could capture. A note typed sterile. Smile for the world or lose it all. My blood ran cold, stomach churning as I showed Elena, her face draining to ash. Lana, she breathed, certainty carved in every line. We called Hargrove, his team swarming like bees. Fingerprints lifted, cams reviewed, but the sender ghosted, a phantom in the machine. Security tightened. Rotations doubled, my shifts endless, eyes gritty from all-nighters patrolling the perimeter, salt air whipping my face raw. Elena filmed her thriller on a soundstage in Burbank, warehouses echoing with slate claps and director yells. Me stationed at the edge, scanning extras for threats. Between takes, she'd slip away, finding me in the craft services tent, amid the hum of generators and coffee urns gurgling. Missed you, she'd murmur, stealing a quick press in the shadows, her costume, a leather jacket over a bloodied blouse, smelling of set dust and fake gore. Those moments fueled me, sparks in the grind, but exhaustion carved hollows under my eyes, dreams haunted by faceless watchers. Lana struck next at the wrap party, a sprawling affair in the Hollywood Roosevelt. Palm-fringed pool aglow with lanterns, laughter floating on mariachi strains and clinking glasses. Elena shone in emerald silk, arm looped mine as we navigated the crowd, but Lana slithered through, flute in hand, smile venomous. Darlings. Such a scandal. Riley loved the ink. Does it come with the package? Her gaze raked me, lingering low, and Elena stiffened, grip bruising. Back off, Lana. Your games are old. But Lana leaned in, whisper audible. Games? Honey, I'm just getting started. Ask her about the tape. She sauntered off, hips swaying taut, leaving Elena pale, questions burning in her stare. Later, poolside under stars smudged by city glow, Elena confronted. What tape? I froze, beer bottle sweating in my palm, the chlorine tang sharp in nostrils. Oh shit. College. Dumb prank, me and an ex, nothing. Lie by omission but truth clawed. A leaked video from my Ohio days. Fumbling first love caught on cam by cruel friends, scrubbed but never forgotten. Riley. Hurt laced her tone, a knife twist. I set the bottle down, glass clinking protest. It was before you, Elle. Before us. Doesn't change this. She searched my face, rain starting to patter on leaves, cooling the air. Everything changes in this town. Trust me. We drove home in silence, wipers slashing rhythm, radio murmuring ballads of lost love. At the estate, she vanished to the study, door clicking shut like finality. I paced the hall, floorboards creaking under weight, until she emerged hours later, eyes red-rimmed but resolute. Found it online, doctored of course. Lana's handiwork. She held her phone, screen dark now, but the damage lingered in her slump. I pulled her into bed. No words, just touch, gentle strokes along spine, breaths evening in dark. We're stronger, I whispered, her nod muffled in pillow. But strength tested when the tape dropped, viral by dawn, twisted narrative painting me predator, Elena victim. Calls flooded. Firings threatened, sponsors fleeing. Elena faced it head-on, posting a statement fierce and unapologetic. Love isn't scandal. It's survival. The backlash roared, trolls spewing hate in comment cesspools, but allies surfaced, queer icons amplifying her voice. Me? I stood guard, literal and figurative, as paparazzi camped the gates, flashes popping like gunfire. In the eye we rebuilt. Lazy Sundays with farmers' market hauls, strawberries juicy on tongues shared in sunlight-dappled kitchens. Her laugh returned, bright as bells, and love deepened, roots twisting through cracks. Yet Lana's shadow loomed, a promise of pyre. The tape's fallout cascaded like dominoes in a gale, toppling endorsements and invites. Elena's inbox a war zone of cancellations couched in corporate regret. Mutual parting, they called it, emails pinging hollow as empty chambers. She read them aloud over breakfast one fog-shrouded morning. Voice flat, cereal spoon clinking against bowl in punctuation. The kitchen hummed with the fridge's low drone, mist pressing against windows like uninvited guests. Guess I'm box office poison now, she quipped, but the edge cracked, milk swirling untouched. I reached across the island, hand covering hers, pulse jumping at the coolness of her skin. Their loss, Elle. Your gold, real gold. She squeezed back, eyes lifting to mine, gratitude flickering through the storm. What would I do without you? The question hung soft, but answered in the way she rose, rounding the counter to pull me into a hug that melted defenses. Her body fitting mine like a glove, heartbeat a drum against my chest. We lingered there, breath sinking, the scent of her shampoo, citrus sharp, cutting through the damp air. Outside, seals barked from the cove, a salty underscore to our quiet vow. Work shifted gears. Elena pivoted to indie scripts, passion projects greenlit by sympathetic directors who'd weathered their own scandals. Her next gig, a queer drama set in 80s San Francisco, filmed on location, me in tow as consultant, a euphemism for the team's wary eye. The city by the bay welcomed us with bite, winds whipping off the bay, carrying fog that tasted of brine and possibility. We rented a Victorian in the Castro, rainbow flags snapping from porches like defiant banners, the air alive with coffee roasts from corner bistros and the distant clang of cable cars grinding uphill. On set, Elena transformed, slipping into bell-bottoms and feathered hair, her character a bar owner navigating love amid AIDS crisis shadows. Between scenes she'd find me in the grip truck, amid coiled cables smelling of rubber and rain, sharing thermoses of soup from Crafty, steam rising like secrets. This feels right, she'd say, legs dangling from the tailgate, city hum a backdrop. No masks. I'd nod, stealing bites, our knees knocking casual, but the brush ignited. Later in the rental's clawfoot tub, water sloshing warm as her size, we'd reclaim the day, bubbles popping soft against tile. But Lana infiltrated even here. A surprise visit to the set, arriving in a chauffeured Escalade, designer shades hiding eyes like daggers. She air-kissed Elena amid the crew cooing about support, but her gaze slid to me, parked by the monitors, arms crossed. Riley, darling. Heard you're the flavor of the month. Careful, San Fran's got a way of exposing truths. Her perfume lingered cloying, jasmine twisted with spite, as she sauntered off to schmooze the DP. Elena's jaw set, whispering later in the makeup trailer, mirrors fogged from lights. She's here to sabotage. That scene tomorrow? The love declaration. She knows it'll go viral if fucked. Paranoia prickled my skin like static. Nights patrolling the Victorian's creaky halls, floorboards groaning under steps, shadows pooling in corners. Elena tossed in sleep, murmurs of lines blending with nightmares, her hand seeking mine in dark. Stay close, she'd mumble, and I would, spooning her form, breath shallow against nape, the city's pulse thrumming through walls, Sirens wailing, laughter spilling from bars below. Sabotage struck subtle. Props tampered. A pivotal love letter swapped with blanks. Elena's raw delivery falling flat under director's frown. Cut. What's with the stiffness, Voss? The crew milled confused. Rain pattering on the soundstage roof like impatient fingers. Elena stormed off, face buried in script, and I followed to the alley, dumpsters reeking of wet cardboard. It's her, she hissed, tears streaking mascara black as betrayal. I pulled her against chain link. Rain soaking us through, cold rivulets down spines. We'll fix it. Rewrite, reshoot. Fuck her games. Our kiss was salt and fury. Hands fisting wet hair. Bodies pressing urgent against fence rattle. The director bought the reshoots, praising Elena's intensity. But Lana's whisper campaign spread. Rumors of diva tantrums, unprofessional flings tanking morale. Back in LA for a break, the heat wave baked the city. Asphalt soft under tires, mirages dancing on freeways. Elena's manager brokered a sit-down with studio brass. Me waiting in the lobby of a Century City high-rise. Magazines rustling under AC vents blasting Arctic. She emerged drained, victory Pyrrhic. They'll cut the queer arc if we don't deliver. Her voice broke in the elevator, descending smooth as defeat, and I held her against mirrored walls, reflections multiplying our ache. Home we drowned out in excess. Takeout from Roscoe's, chicken and waffles sticky sweet, eaten on the living room floor amid scattered scripts. Jazz crooned from the stereo, saxophone wailing low, her foot tracing my calf under the coffee table. Remember our first night? She asked, head on my shoulder, plate balance precarious. The chateau, that door click, like fate locking in. I chuckled, syrup thick on tongue. Felt like a trap then. Feels like home now. Laughter led to lips, plates shoved aside. Rug burn on knees as we rolled. Her above then me, rhythms building to crescendo, gasps punctuating bass notes. Climax crashing like waves on our beach. Respite shattered midweek. Another package, this one at the gate. Digital drive with footage raw and real. Us in the tub, bed, balcony. Hackers, courtesy of Lana's deep pockets. Elena watched one clip, face crumbling, then smashed the drive under heel, plastic cracking sharp. Enough. We went to the cops, statements droning in sterile rooms smelling of bleach, but evidence thin, lawyers circling. Hargrove pulled me aside post-report. Kane stepped back. This personal now clouds judgment. His words landed heavy, a shove toward exit. Elena overheard, confronting in the car park, sun glaring off hoods. You quit? Over this. Hurt slashed her tone, rain starting sudden, fat drops splattering pavement. No, protecting you means protecting us. Argument escalated, voices rising over thunder rumble, until she shoved me, palms flat on chest. Us? Or your fear winning? Silence stretched, broken by wiper swish as we drove home soaked, tension thick as steam. That night, makeup sex turned reckoning, slow eyes locked, her tears mixing with sweat. Don't leave, she begged, hips grinding deliberate. Never, I vowed, but dawn brought clarity, fight smarter. We hired a PI. A no-nonsense dyke named Jax with tattoos, snaking arms, and a nose for dirt. Her digs unearthed Lana's trail. Payoffs to hackers, bribes to insiders. Evidence stacking like dry tinder. Confrontation brewed at a fundraiser gala. Crystal clinking in the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. Chandeliers dripping light like liquid gold. Elena cornered Lana by the bar, me at flank, Jax's file burning in my pocket. Game over, Elena said, voice velvet over steel, handing the dossier. Lana paled, flute shattering on marble, shards glinting treacherous. You wouldn't. But Elena's smile was lethal. Watch me. Security escorted her out, whispers rippling like aftershocks. Relief washed post-gala. Champagne bubbling on our tongues in the limo, city lights streaking tears. We did it, Elena breathed, head on my lap, fingers lacing. Victory tasted sweet, but scars lingered, trust frayed, walls rebuilt higher. With Lana's empire crumbling, lawsuits piling like storm debris, her agent jumping ship, the air lightened, LA's perpetual haze parting for glimpses of blue. Elena's indie rap strong. buzz building from test screenings where audiences wept for her character's unapologetic love. Critics early peaked. Voss bears soul in triumph over scandal. Her phone pinged affirmations from allies. A lifeline in the echo chamber. We celebrated low-key at a Venice beach shack. Fish tacos dripping lime on paper plates. Ocean roar drowning out doubts. Sand gritty between toes. She licked salt from my fingers. Eyes wicked over candle flicker from a mason jar. To us unbreakable. Clink of long necks sealed it. Foam fizzing like our laughter. But peace proved tentative, cracks widening under pressure. Elena's ex, a producer named Theo with a jawline chiseled from entitlement, and a history of gaslighting that left her doubting her lines resurfaced. Calls started innocuous, just checking in old friend, escalating to voicemails laced with nostalgia, voice oily as the martinis he favored. I overheard one in the kitchen, her on speaker rinsing dishes, suds bubbling white. Miss those nights, Lena? You were wild then before the suits tamed you. She hung up mid-sentence, plate clattering, sink, face stormy. Ignore him, I said, drying hands on towel rough as regret. But seeds of unease sprouted. Theo's reach, his Rolodex of power brokers who could blacklist on whim. Shoots done, Elena dove into promo. Podcasts and echoey studios smelling of mic spray. Q&As in indie theaters where velvet seats sighed under crowds. I shadowed, earpiece crackling with team chatter, eyes scanning for ghosts. One night in Silver Lake, a packed house for a screening, she nailed the panel, voice steady recounting her journey to authenticity. Applause thundering warm. Backstage after, amid hugs and champagne pops, Theo materialized, suit crisp as lies, bouquet in hand. Lena radiant as ever. His hug lingered, hand low on back, and she stiffened, pulling away with a smile brittle. I stepped forward, presence a wall. Mr. Hale. My tone flat, but eyes promise fracture. He smirked, appraising. The guard dog. Charming. Elena linked my arm, excusing us, but in the green room, mirrors ringed harsh, air stale with old coffee, her composure cracked. He knows about us, twisted it, said you're my rebound muscle. She paced, heels sinking carpet, breath short. I blocked her path, hands on shoulders. He's baiting, don't bite. Our foreheads met, exhales mingling minty, and she nodded but tension coiled tight. Theo persisted, invites to reconnect dinners. Flowers arriving daily, petals wilting like his charm. Elena deflected but isolation crept. Friends ghosting under his influence, invites drying to dust. One evening, sunset bleeding orange over the hills, she snapped. Vase shattering against wall. Shards tinkling like ice in a highball. He's everywhere. Undermining, whispering I'm unstable post-scandal. Glass crunched under her bare feet as she advanced, eyes wild. I swept her up, carrying to couch. Bandages later staunching minor cuts, antiseptic sting sharp. We'll cut him off, block report if needed. She curled fetal, sobs racking. I was so young, believed his promises. Now. He's poison I can't purge. That vulnerability peeled layers, nights unfolding confessions under duvet weight. Her first role stolen by his advice. Heartbreaks he engineered for control. I held her through tremors, my own stories spilling. Army days, commander's favoritism turning sour. Discharge papers signed with a sneer. We survive em, I murmured, lips brushing temple. Lovemaking followed tender, fingers exploring slow. Her arches meeting mine in waves. Climax a quiet release, tears salting skin. Jax's PI work deepened. Theo's ties to the stalker unearthed. Payoffs masked as loans. We armed with proof, confronting at his office in a Century City tower. Views sprawling indifferent. Leather chairs creaking under weight. Elena let dossier slap desk. Back off, Theo. Or this goes public. He blanched, recovering with bluster. Blackmail? Classy, Lena. But fear flickered and he signed the NDA, voice gravel. Victory hummed on the drive home, windows down, wind whipping hair wild. Radio blasting empowerment anthems. Reprieve brought travel. A weekend in Big Sur. Cliffs plunging to sea foam. Redwoods whispering ancient. Cabin rental smelled of pine and earth. Fireplace crackling embers gold. We hiked trails mudslick after rain, hands clasped over roots snaking, birdsong trilling overhead. Picnics on bluffs, bread crusty, cheese ripe, led to lazy afternoons in hammocks swaying, her reading scripts aloud, me sketching her profile in notebook margins, pencil scratches soft. Evenings stargazing on quilts, meteor streaks like wishes, her head pillowed on stomach. This us, it's forever, right? Voice small against night vast. Forever, I echoed, stars reflecting in eyes. Back in Ella, normalcy teased. Yoga classes and sun salutations, her downward dog mirroring mine. Laughter when balances wobbled. Grocery runs to Whole Foods, carts rattling aisles, debating kale versus spinach with mock gravity. But Theo's ghost lingered, one last volley. A leaked email chain painting Elena difficult. Deals faltering. She spiraled, rehearsals missed, voice cracking on lines. I found her in the studio, curled on the piano bench, keys silent under dust. Can't do this, she whispered, face buried arms. I knelt, chin on knee. You can. With me. Therapy sessions followed, joint, a soft-spoken counselor in a bungalow smelling of sage. Unpacking baggage, words tumbling like laundry from dryer. Climax brewed at Elena's film premiere. Red carpet frenzy, flashes blinding as strobes, screams blending to white noise. Theo crashed gates, drunk and desperate, bellowing her name amid velvet ropes. Security swarmed, but he lunged, words slurring venom. You owe me, bitch. I intercepted, tackle clean, pavement scraping knees as cuffs clicked. Elena watched from afar, face a mask cracking, applause distant thunder. Aftermath. Charges pressed, Theo sidelined for good. Elena's film soared, reviews raving brave, brilliant. We toasted on her balcony, city twinkling approval, glasses chiming. To endings, she said, but eyes held more, question unspoken. Love anchored us, but horizons called, change whispering on breeze. The premiere's echo lingered like champagne haze. Elena's name on lips from coast to coast. Her performance dissected in glowing op-eds that framed her as icon reborn. Billboards bloomed overnight, her face fierce and free, staring down from bus stops and billboards, a beacon amid the sprawl. But triumph tasted bittersweet. Theo's arrest splashed smaller, his connection spinning it as overzealous fan. But the cuffs stayed on, bail denied amid mounting evidence. Jax texted updates. He's cracking, names dropping like confetti. Relief settled slow, a tide receding, leaving shells of what-ifs on shore. Elena threw herself into award season prep. Fittings and ateliers smelling of crisp linen and pins, gowns draped like liquid night over forms. I tagged as +1. Navigating galas where air shimmered with flash and falsity, her hand in mine a lifeline through schmooze. One night at the governor's ball, crystal clinking like wind chimes, jazz trio purring smooth, she won supporting actress, speech stumbling heartfelt. To the women who loved me into this moment. Eyes found mine in the sea of tuxes, tears pricking hot, applause crashing wave. Backstage amid hugs and squeals, she pulled me into a shadowed alcove, lips crashing urgent, confetti crunching under heels. You, she gasped, you're my win. But elation crested, then crashed. Exhaustion hit like a freight. Elena collapsing post-after party. Fever spiking under silk sheets. Doctor visits blurred. Flu, they said, but tests whispered deeper. Stress manifesting, body rebelling against the grind. Bedside vigils became routine. Me spooning soup broth, steaming chamomile. Her sips weak but grateful. Feels like defeat, she murmured, voice raspy, window framing rain-lashed palms. I brushed damp hair from brow, cool cloth soothing. Now recharge. Warriors rest. Nights I'd read aloud, scripts, novels, my own dog-eared letters from home. Voice lulling her to sleep, breaths evening beside me. Recovery stretched, forcing slowdown. Walks on the beach at dawn, waves lapping cold ankles, her leaning on arm as gulls scavenged. Smell that, she'd say, inhaling deep, salt and seaweed, promise of renewal. We talked futures, her eyeing Broadway, me musing PI work with Jax, ditching the suit for stakeouts with soul. Together, she'd ask, toes digging sand. Always. Picnics evolved to therapy in nature, unpacking residuals. My abandonment scars from Dad's war ghosts, Her stage mom pressures molding perfection's cage. Awards circuit peaked at the Oscars. Hollywood Boulevard, a carnival of limos purring. Stars glittering under Klieg light sweeping sky. Elena's gown, sapphire silk hugging curves, turned heads. My tux, rented but tailored sharp, earned whistles. Red carpet gauntlet. Poses flashing, questions probing. Scandal to spotlight, Elena? She fielded graceful, arm-tight mine. Loves the real drama. Inside, Dolby Theater thrummed. Seats plush, air electric with nerves. She didn't win, but the nomination alone catapults. Post-show parties swirling in victory's blur. Mid-season, a curveball. Elena's offer for a superhero franchise, blockbuster bait, queer-coded sidekick with arcs bending norms. Readings in boardrooms sterile as hospitals, scripts rustling under fluorescence. This could redefine, she enthused over dinner. Steak searing rare, juices pooling plate, eyes alight. But doubt shadowed. Or pigeonhole, token gay girl. I speared a bite, chewing thoughtful. Your call, Elle. But you're no token, you're the storm. Decision hung, weeks of pros cons lists scribbled on napkins, stained with wine rings. Spring bloomed riotous, jacarandas purple carpet streets, allergies kicking my sinuses raw. We escaped to Palm Springs for a festival gig. Her panel on authentic voices. Me in the audience, pride swelling as she owned the stage. Words weaving personal to universal. Q&A turned raw. A fan's query on balancing love and spotlight. Elena paused, mic humming feedback soft. Love's the balance, grounds you when lights blind. Applause roared, but her glance my way trembled. Love, yes, but strain showing in hollow cheeks. Late nights scripting alone. Tension simmered subtle. My contract renewal loomed. Hargrove pushing desk work. Less risk, Kane. But Elena's world demanded mobility, chafing my stationary itch. Arguments flared kitchen sharp. I need you out there, she'd snap, spoon clanging pot. And I need you safe. I'd counter, voice rising over sizzle. Makeups followed heated. Counter sex frantic. Apologies gasped against tile. But resentments lingered, barnacles on hull. Climax brewed unexpected. Elena's directorial debut pitch. A short on lesbian pioneers, raw and intimate. Backers balked. Too niche. Until she rallied, crowdfunding via social. Fans pouring support like rain. Shoot loomed in Joshua Tree, desert stark, winds howling, sand devils. We caravanned, her behind camera calling shots, me handling logistics. Permit stamped, crew fed on cooler sandwiches crusty. On location, boulders looming sentinel, she directed with fire. Action. Echoing off rock, actors embodying ghosts of Stonewall. Between takes, she'd collapse beside me on tailgate, dust-caking boots. This creating its freedom. Kiss Dusty, tasting of grit and grit. But peril shadowed. A crew hand disgruntled over pay swiped gear. Cameras vanishing into night. Panic hit pre-dawn, flashlights slicing dark, scorpions skittering from beams. Elena rallied, search, voice steady. We rebuild. Recovery proved miracle, gear dumped miles off, minor scratches. Wrap party under stars, bonfire crackling sage, toasts to resilience. Her short premiered months later at Outfest. Crowd hushed, then erupting, tears streaming collective. Post-premiere clarity struck. Elena turned the franchise, opting for indie lane. I want stories that matter, she declared over gelato cones dripping pistachio. Park benches hard under us. With you. My heart swelled but words caught. My gig. It's security, not scripts. Conversation meandered to crossroads, me training for PI cert, her producing our tales. Partners, she said, spoon clinking cup. In every way. Summer heat peaked. Pool days at her estate. Splashes echoing, sunscreen slick on skin. Love deep and domestic. Her learning my carburetor fixes, grease smudging cheeks. Me mastering her risotto, arborio plumping creamy. But whispers grew. Industry murmurs of Voss's muse. Painting me prop. Insecurity nipped. Late call from a co-star, laughter filtering phone, her blush unreadable. Harvest moon brought reckoning. A getaway to Napa. Vines heavy with grapes bursting juice. Tasting room oak scented, pours ruby in glasses. Over dinner, lamb slow roasted, herbs fragrant, she proposed shift. Quit the team. Join mine, produce, protect, whatever. Fork paused midair, weight settling. Big leap. Her hand over mine warm. Big love. Nights in Vineyard Inn, sheets crisp linen, we explored futures. Fingers mapping bodies, moans blending with cricket chorus. Return brought decision. Resignation tendered, Hargrove grunting approval. Smart Kane. Don't fuck it up. New chapter dawn tentative. Excitement fizzing like first sips. Autumn wind stripped leaves to skeletons. LA's relentless sun softening to gold that gilded our shifts. Elena's production company launched modest. Office in a WeHo bungalow. Walls papered with storyboards vibrant as dreams. Air humming with printer whir and fresh ground beans from the Keurig. I dove in hybrid. Logistics lead by day, creative spar by night. Scripts annotated in margins with my scrawls. Amp the tension here like that beach fight. Her smile at my input lit rooms brighter than the desk lamps buzzing late. You're a natural, Riley. My secret weapon. Evenings blurred work to home. Take out faux steaming spicy. Bowls clacking on coffee table as we brainstormed. Feet tangled under throws. But transition chafed. Old team ribbed via texts. Gone soft Kane. Stinging pride. Elena noticed, pulling me onto the deck one dusk. City lights winking onset. Doubts. Horizon bled purple. Her profile sharp against it. I sighed, breath fogging chill air. Just. Imposter vibes. Suits to stories. She turned, hands framing face, thumbs stroking jaw. You're the story, love. The one that saved me. Kiss slow, deepening with wine on tongues led indoors. Couch creaking under descent. Layers peeling to size and skin slap. Projects piled. Her directorial short expanded to feature. Casting calls in the bungalow. Actors pacing lino, lines tumbling earnest. I vetted, instincts sharp from guard days. Spotting nerves masking deceit. One hopeful, a fresh-faced ingenue with eyes hungry. Lingered post-audition. Chat turning flirt. Elena clocked it from the kitchenette. Pouring waters glug-glug. Later alone she teased light. Jealous. But undercurrent pulled, trust's old scar itching. Nah. Just protective. Honesty night. Over tacos al pastor, lime zing cutting grease, we aired vents. Her fear of codependence, my echo of loss. We're building, not binding. She vowed, fork spearing carnitas. Festival circuit beckoned. Sundance in January, snow crunching under boots, lodges wood smoke scented. Elena's film screen to gasps and cheers, Q&A electric. Your chemistry with Kane's input palpable.
Post-panel, après-ski Bartrum de Mulcide steaming, lock popping art.
She pulled me to dance, boots scuffing floor. Body swaying loose to folk strums. This life's ours, whispered hot in ear, nipping lobe. Hotel room after. Firelit glow through windows, bed piled quilts, love-making urgent. Her straddling hips rolling wave, my hands bruising hips and anchor. Success snowballed. Distribution deals inked over brunches. Avocado toast crumbling flaky. Mimosas bubbling effervesce. Elena's star ascended authentic. Panels on queer behind camera, drawing crowds diverse. I shadowed less guard, more equal. Co-producing credits, rolling eyes at first, then nods. But spotlights scorched. Invasive profiles probing the couple. Photos candid on hikes, her hand in mine pap snapped. Privacy eroded, walls thinning. Spring storm hit metaphorical. Funding snag for next pick. Backers balking too lesbian forward. Elena paced office. Scripts fluttering like startled birds. They want palatable, code for straight-washed. Rage simmered, voice cracking. I brewed tea, chamomile soothing, handing mug steam wisping. Fuck palatable. Crowd fund again. Fans'll rally. She deflated, sipping scalding. What if they don't? Embrace followed, her head tucking under chin, heartbeat rabbit quick. They will. Like they did you. Underdog fight galvanized. Campaign launched viral, testimonials pouring. Fans sharing stories mirroring ours. Funds flowed, production greenlit raw. Shoot in the desert again but evolved meet and calling quiet on set. Echo vast. Elena directed visionary, vision uncompromised. Lovers defying odds, arcs bending not breaking. Rap brought catharsis, crew bonfire, guitars strumming blues, marshmallows toasting gooey. She found me by flames, face orange flicker. Couldn't without you. Dance slow, sand shifting feet, stars carpet overhead. Premier Loom Tiff, Toronto crisp fall, leaves crunching avenues. Red carpet redux. Her in velvet midnight, me in tailored wool, flashes popping relentless. Screening hush theater, then ovation thunderous, tears collective. After party swirled. Caviar pearls on blinis, champagne flutes chiming toasts. Elena pulled me aside. Balcony overlooking lake silvered moon. Marry me. Breath caught world tilting. Ring box from pocket, simple band silver etched waves. Yes. Choked kiss ceiling city hum approving. Wedding whispers followed. Small desert affair. Joshua tree under full moon. Vows exchanged circle friends. Jack's officiating gravel voice. Rings exchanged cool metal her I do soft thunder. Reception firelit. Dances barefoot sand. Cake chocolate sin sweet. Honeymoon Napa redux but deeper vows revisited vineyard rose. Grapes crushing underfoot juice burst. Years folded forward. Company thrived, films Oscar nodded. Elena directing blockbusters queer infused. I produced steady, our home bungalow expanded. Studio added. Walls lined bookshelves groaning scripts. Mornings routine. Coffee brewing gurgle her stirring eggs sizzle. Kisses lazy over mugs. Challenges came, funding droughts critic barbs, but weathered tandem therapy tune-ups airing grime. Decade mark. Retrospective at a fest, our film's marathon crowds young inspired. Backstage her hand mine eyes crinkling. From Bodyguard to this. Laugh shared full circle. Life's real spun meaningful. Love not plot device but pulse raw resilient hours. In quiet nights balcony perch, city sprawling tapestry. We trace constellations. Breath synced eternal. Best plot twist. She'd murmur head shoulder. You. And in that, ending not end but ever beginning.